For this episode of Growing Pains, we brought in an old friend of mine, Jeanine, and she spoke to us about her experience with teenage pregnancy and what it's like being a mother in her early 20s. Give it a watch. Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you? How are you today?
Good, good. It's a Monday, so starting off the week. It's very, very hot, but I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
All right, not too bad, not too bad. Happy to be recording again. I
Yes.
feel like it's been a bit of a while, so thank you for coming.
And
Thank
I'm
you
really
for
happy
having
to
me.
have you here. Like, apart from Beer Fest, I think I hadn't seen you in
Years.
Yes.
How do you two know each other,
We
by the
used
way?
to go to the same school.
Exactly.
But she's a year younger.
Exactly. So she was
Okay.
a year above me, and we used to do like theater productions
As
together.
we used to do like the yearly prize day play.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
great.
I
I have a lot of
remember.
photos of us together. Like I had my 16th birthday party or something. At the beach, remember? At Golden Bay. And we used to like draw on the sand. I have some
So
really
much
like
memories.
cringe photos, but they're so fun.
But they're great. They're
It's
honestly
really
great.
sweet.
I
It's
mean,
really
secondary
sweet.
school memories.
Such a
and
special
the
time,
school was
like-
great. Even the people were
Yes,
fun. It was an all-girls
yes.
school, so you can imagine the drama that used to
Yeah.
happen.
I feel
Girls
like
can get catty.
your year, especially my year, wasn't that bad.
My
But
year, I think it
remember
was just
your-
a bunch of lesbians in the closet. It was
It's
great.
true. It's
It
true.
was so funny, man.
So
a lot of the drama
true.
happened because of that, because we went to a church school as well.
I see.
So
No,
it
you
was
can
very
imagine.
like, yeah, but it
I
was
see.
great. It was
Uh-huh.
great.
I miss it sometimes. That was like a special
Same.
time.
Same.
Why
Life
do we
was simpler.
always bring people that you know and never anyone that I know one?
Because you don't know interesting people.
Oh, you're not far off. Like surrounding
No,
ourselves
no,
with
I'm-
simple people, with simple lives.
Simple mind is
Well,
always the best, I mean, simple life.
That's that.
Next time we'll bring someone you know.
That's that. I wonder who whack. I wonder who.
Fidek.
Oh yeah. Shall we get into it
Let's
a
do
little
it.
bit?
Yeah.
What's it like being a young mummy?
It's interesting, to say the least. I think it's very different to what a normal woman in her 20s life would be like. But it's really been a cool adventure, actually. Like, for the most part, I think I've done a lot of things that I can really, really say I wouldn't have done if I didn't have Arthur. Arthur, who's my kid.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just been a whirlwind of adventures, and the people I've met as well because of him. I'm very grateful.
Oh,
And,
sweet.
yeah.
And to clarify, how old are you now? And how old were you when you had Arthur?
So I found out I was pregnant when I was 17.
Okay.
So very young. I had him when I was 18, and now I'm 22. So now he's going to be 4 in September, so next month.
He's so cute.
He is
He's so
adorable.
cute.
Thank you.
I was
thank
hearing
you.
the voice note you
Yes,
two
'cause
shared together, and he
Ilalo, my heart
interrupted you.
melted.
Yeah, no,
Hey.
I can't send a voice note without him saying, "Is this a message?" And going, "Yes." Can I say hello? And then he just starts
sweet.
speaking.
He's at the curious age,
Yo,
so
he's a philosopher. All he says is, "But why?" And then, like, by the 30th why, I'm like, you know what? I don't even know why. Like, he sends me to an existential
why
crisis.
are we here, Arthur?
Literally, man. Like,
sweet.
we should be questioning why, but then I'm like, I don't know.
You
Because
don't have
pigs
all
don't
the
fly.
answers.
Exactly.
How sweet. He seems like a sweet boy. What
he
was
really is.
your reaction like when you found out you were pregnant?
So that was a really, really weird thing because I had a feeling, like I had this gut feeling where I was like, okay, my period hasn't come in a while. I threw up the other morning. That's not like me. Okay, something's wrong. And back then I used to go to like a gynecologist with my sister and my mom. We used to do like appointments all in one. We used to go do our routine checkups.
That's
And
really
I was
good.
like-
Doing routine checkups
Yes,
at 17.
yes.
Wow.
I've never
Yes.
been to the gynae doing a routine checkup.
You
Congrats.
should.
It's true.
And I remember we went, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask her to, like, when it's my turn, I'll go in and I'll say, listen, can you like check? Because she usually takes urine samples, check everything's okay as well. It's like, can you check if I'm pregnant? Because I was
And you
very
were there with
comfortable
your
her.
mom and your
Yes,
sister.
but we would go in one by one
Okay.
usually. So I was like, okay. We get there, and I was already really nervous because I had a feeling something was wrong. And then the receptionist told us that she had to step out because an emergency happened. So we had to come back in like 2 weeks' time. So I was like, oh shit.
Oh
and we
my
stepped out,
God.
and I just started crying. And my sister and my mom were like, why the hell are you crying? Because the gynecologist wasn't in. Like, are you okay? It was really weird. So I had to tell them. We went to a pharmacy, got a test. We went back to my house, and they sat in the bathroom with me while I did it. And yeah, we all kind of found out together, which was a really eck moment. And then after that, I went, I think, with my sister to do an ultrasound.
Were you
and
happy that you took the test with them? sort of?
Yes, I think, because I think it would have been more nerve-wracking to have to tell them. Because then, I
Uh-huh.
mean, I had to go and tell my dad, which was,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Oh God.
But I think in hindsight, yes, I'm glad they were there. So at least it was like the initial reaction was with them.
And you automatically had that support.
Yes,
I
yes. I mean,
guess.
at the time, I was just shocked. I remember just going to a friend's house and crying for 2 days straight. But yeah, I mean, after the ultrasound, then I found out I was like 2 months in already. So when I
Yes,
found
yeah.
out, I was 2 months into the pregnancy. So
Yes,
I
yeah.
had no idea. So it was very, quite a bit moment, a big moment. But yeah,
What's
Of
the
course.
first thing you do when you find out you're pregnant?
cry.
Cry?
Could be happy tears, could be sad tears, could be what the fuck's going on tears, who knows? But
Tears, nonetheless.
tears nonetheless.
Okay.
But I think, I mean, you just start trying to figure out what you want in that moment. I mean, again, I was young, so I didn't plan to get pregnant at that age. I didn't even know if I wanted kids, to be honest, because I think at
It's
17,
true.
you don't really think if you want kids. Some people might know. I didn't. I was having fun. I was like, yeah,
Going with
we'll
the
see in the
flow, like-
future. So it was a very much like, okay, what the hell am I going to do next? And it was a very surreal moment. I kind of felt like the entire world stopped moving, and it was just me and this thing inside of me, because at the time I didn't even register that it was a kid. It was this thing inside of me where I was like, okay, what now? But then, yeah, you need to go like get an ultrasound, see how far along you are, start taking your prenatal vitals. There's like so much to it. It's an entire routine.
course.
You just start prepping for a baby then, basically. So, yeah.
And as a 17-year-old girl, you decided to obviously keep your child. What was that decision-making
So-
process like?
I mean, at the beginning, to be very honest with you, I didn't want to keep him. If abortion was legal in Malta, that would have been an option for me. Obviously, since it wasn't, I was like, okay, I might have to go abroad. But again, at the beginning, I didn't know yet. So I was making a pros and cons list. I remember with my sister, like, what are the pros of keeping this baby and what are the cons? And then when we went to do the ultrasound and I found out I was 2 months pregnant, I was like, okay, so that's already a bit hard because if I wanted to do an abortion, Keiko, I would have had to do it very quickly. But
'Cause
then
then
the
it
minute
gets
I
too late,
heard,
so-
yeah, exactly. But the minute I heard the heartbeat, it's like, again, everything stopped. And then I knew there and then I'm keeping the baby.
Yeah, so.
I mean, again, I still believe that women should have the choice. But for me, the story ended up turning out to like, okay, the minute I heard the heartbeat, I was like, oh, fuck. Right, I cannot terminate the pregnancy. So,
You had
and then
that
I just
connection
decided,
automatically.
yeah, it just became very real. And I think that is the moment I stopped being a 17-year-old and I started being a young adult. And I was like, okay, I need to make an actual decision that's not just for me. Because, you know, as a 17, you're very selfish. Every decision you make is for
Yeah.
yourself. Then from there on out, it's like every decision I made was for that kid. But yes.
Cool.
And how was your family's reaction to all of this? Like, were they shocked, sort of?
Yes, I mean, I was a very troublesome 17-year-old, so I think they were shocked and also very like, okay, shit, what are we gonna do? Because I did not have my life together at all. I don't think any 17-year-old does.
Literally.
My dad, I remember, I mean, my sister, my mom, since they found out with me, it was again just like a shock of like, okay, oh no, what do we do now? And my dad, when we told him, I remember we all sat down and I couldn't speak. I was petrified. And my mom, I think, went, she said something along the lines of, somebody's pregnant. And he looked at my sister really happy because she obviously was, she's older than me. She was in a relationship. So he was like, she's pregnant. And then my sister just like nods slowly. And then he looks at me and his eyes get bigger and his teeth start grinding. And he like said nothing. And I remember just bawling my eyes out and running off and just kind of like, yeah. So it was, I mean, I think the initial reaction is always shock,
Yeah,
especially at
so-
such a young age. But then slowly, I mean, I kept it hidden for a long time because then COVID hit as well. So I was pregnant during
shit.
COVID.
Lalo.
It was a
Ilalo,
very
that must have
interesting
been
time.
hard.
Yes. So I didn't see any of my friends. I mean, nobody knew that I was pregnant until one day when I was like maybe 2 months away from giving birth, or a month away, I think. It was sometime in August. I posted a picture on
I remember
Instagram. And
seeing it. I was
everyone
like-
went crazy, like, what? It was really, really, but I kept it hidden away. I mean, my closest friends knew. It's just I didn't really tell anybody outside of my circle. Obviously in Malta with rumors and stuff, there
Yeah,
were
so-
rumors, people kind of knew, the word got around. And even, I mean, I got pregnant with a person who I was in a relationship with for a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
So then obviously his kind of friend group kind of knew as well. But yeah, it was interesting.
So when you like published, obviously, a photo of yourself, obviously pregnant, what was the feedback you got then? And do you still get like weird looks, so on and so forth, when people see a person young as yourself with a pram and a kid out in public?
I think I was lucky because since it was during COVID, I didn't go out much. So I didn't get a lot of reactions, public reactions.
Okay.
Online, I mean, I was hearing rumors that people were talking about and stuff, which some of them weren't so nice. But online wise, actually, people gave me a lot of support and kind of pushed me to say, you know, like, you're going to do great at this. We have your back, which was nice.
Nice.
And even like at the time I was finishing, I think I was in a photography course.
Okay.
It was my second year. And even the teachers were really, really sweet about it. So they let me go in and do one-to-ones to finish my degree, which was also kind of a blessing for COVID, because if COVID didn't hit, I would have had to stop because of my pregnancy. So that way I was at
Lalo.
home, still doing my lectures. Even when I gave birth, I was at home, breastfeeding my kid, doing my lectures. It was
Lalo.
great. But it turned out for the best. That way I didn't stop. I just kept on going.
That's also incredible from your end, like dealing with so much, like with the
I-
pregnancy already, like mentally it takes
I
a
managed.
toll.
I think it was the support system. If I didn't have a support system for my family,
course.
I would have had nothing. So I was really, really grateful to them. But nowadays, I think people don't really, if somebody ever looks at me weird, I think I just ignore it. I don't really pay attention to those things. I've gotten nice reactions. I think it's just people, the way that they see you interact with your kids. You know, I see moms who are in their 40s or 30s who completely ignore their kids, who are
Yeah.
just on their phone
Yep.
there, ignoring them, or who are
Yeah.
just shouting at them constantly. And I think those are the people who usually
Yeah,
get the weird looks
absolutely.
of like,
Yeah.
your kid is right there.
Yeah.
So I think people nowadays are more accustomed to people usually have kids at any age and fuck it, you know, as long as the kid is loved. And I think I've always kind of showed that my kid is loved. So if I do get the looks, I don't really pay attention to them. But I've gotten some great reactions. I made friends with some incredible moms of all ages as well. And we've created like this tiny little community. And
It's
I
so
love
sweet.
it.
It's
Yeah.
also nice having someone there, sort of that
For
gets it.
sure. Yes, no, for sure.
It's really
When I
sweet.
talk to a mom, it's very different. They understand me in a whole different
As
level
that,
now.
as
So,
that.
yeah.
You mentioned earlier on that you feel as though having Arthur has opened up many an opportunity for you.
Yes.
That's funny because like I've spoken to young moms before who were always quite vocal about like how their ambitions in life had to change since having a kid. But you feel as though it's opened more doors.
Yes. So, I mean, obviously, ambitions do have to change in the sense of priorities change. So, you definitely need to change your priorities. You can't take up everything. You have to say no to a lot more things. You have to prioritize your kid first. But I think it's a very big misconception about mothers in general. You don't need to become this person who's just a mom. You know, I think a lot of society, especially something I never even realized, is that we view mothers as just moms. Ah, okay. Even if you go to a job interview, the minute that you tell them you're a mom, for example, it's like, oh, okay, so you're going to have a kid, which is going to create problems because you're going to have to leave early or do whatever, which is crazy because at the end of the day, I think moms are way more dedicated and motivated
Yeah,
and
I love moms.
hardworking. Same.
Moms
Moms are the best.
They're the
Yes,
best.
man. Honestly,
They are.
everybody has a mom and everybody's come from a mother, and moms do so much, you know? And for me, I mean, I always knew what direction I kind of wanted to go in life. But before Arthur, I didn't. So Arthur kind of made me realize because I never had an ambition before. So I was like, okay, now I need to get my shit together. What do I want my life to be
Yeah.
and to become? And I do it. And I think the best gift you can give a kid is to live out the best life for yourself and share it with them. Honestly, because if you just live a life for them and just become a mom and forget everything about yourself, it's going to lead to resentment. And I've seen it as well. And a lot
Yes.
of friends of mine who tell me that their parents gave up everything and they keep on mentioning it to them. And there's this resentment feeling that like, listen, now you need to do what I say because
You need to make up for it. or-
yes, it's like they become their possession and
Yeah.
not their child that they live. I mean, everybody has a different parenting method. But my parenting method is I want my kid to grow up and figure out who he is in a safe environment where he can experiment and see what he likes and what he doesn't like, who he wants to be with, who he doesn't want to be with, everything, career-wise.
I feel like you need to be, like, I get this vibe from how he parents, that, like, you're his best friend and he's your best friend.
Tiny me.
Which is very sweet.
Definitely.
That's beautiful.
And
That's
moms
beautiful.
have this thing where as well, it's like you have to give up everything, even your career and I'm a music journalist, so with it comes a lot of gigs, meeting artists, meeting musicians. And instead of me saying, I can't do that because I have a kid, no, I take him with me. I take him to festivals where it's safe and family friendly, of course. And he gets to be surrounded by incredible people. And even he's constantly surrounded by music, which I think is great for kids as well.
Yes.
So it's perfect because at least if he wakes up one day and says, I want to learn how to play the guitar, or I want to learn how to play the piano, take him to my friend and he's got it. And he's already been surrounded by it. Or even traveling is another thing. It's hard to travel with a kid, 100%, but it's beautiful when you actually do it. It's a lot harder, but it's still, I don't know, it gives you this new perspective. Like, it shouldn't stop you from doing what you want to do. Like, Arthur spent his first birthday in Iceland. He spent a Christmas in Barcelona with me. He spent, he came and moved with me to Portugal when I was working there. He's come to Italy. We're going to Sweden next week. So it's...
How sweet.
I can't take him everywhere, of course. It depends what I'm going up to do. Sometimes with certain jobs, I can't really. But for the most part, kids, the more you expose them to things and new environments and people, the more they're going to be... wild and free and just more content, I think, with their lives. So
How was he traveling?
When he was younger, it was a bit easier because you just carry him everywhere. Now he runs and he like sprints, and I'm gonna have like luggages with me. I'm like, I can't run after you. So it's a bit harder now. So I have decreased a bit. But I think it just comes in phases and waves with kids. So there are certain ages you have to like go places. Like if I take him somewhere now, I would take him to somewhere like Euro Disney or somewhere where he can really enjoy it. But when I do take him abroad, I make sure I take him to places where there are parks and there are like dinosaur parks. He's obsessed with dinosaurs.
How
So we
sweet.
go and he feels like he's traveling the world and he loves it. Like he's always asking, when are we going on the plane? And he gets
sweet.
so excited. So he's great.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
What about dating? What's that like since you've had a kid?
Interesting. I think even before. So I remember when I was pregnant, the last thing on my mind was dating. Because obviously the relationship with the father was a very toxic relationship. So the minute I had Arthur, it was like, okay, I need to get out of this. And which is another thing, Arthur really pushed me to kind of get myself into healthy situations rather than unhealthy situations. He saved me in a way, which sounds very cliche, but it's true.
That's a beautiful
Yes.
way
No,
to
no.
look at it. Like,
It's true. It's very, very true. And dating was just something that was very, like when I was pregnant, I was like, this is the last thing. I don't even want to look at men anymore. But I had a lot of people who had like pregnancy fetishes, which was really weird. Yes, like a pregnancy fetish.
that's a
where-
thing.
It's a thing. I didn't even think it was a thing. It's a thing, man. Where literally they would just like, I guess, get turned on by someone who's pregnant.
Oh my
It
god.
was
No,
so
it is a
weird.
thing, it is a
yeah, and the
thing.
minute if you have a kid, then they're off you. They're looking for the next pregnant. It's so. So I was.
Oh my god.
It was weird.
I did not know this
Yeah,
was a thing.
You
so-
see, that's what we're saying when it opens so many opportunities for her.
Yep, there we go. New doors. No, that was like the weirdest thing, I think. But now with a kid, dating has become interesting. But I think it's actually become more peaceful because I don't date to date. I'm very picky with who I date as well. Like in my life, I think I've been in 3 relationships in total. And now I've become even more picky. So Arthur has made me view it as if I'm going to date someone, this person is going to be someone who Arthur is going to look up to. So I need to make sure that it's someone I want my kids to, mirror, because kids mirror a
Yeah.
lot. So I've become very picky in the sense of I've just kind of blocked out all of the people who are not worth
Fuckboys.
exactly,
Yeah.
man. The people who are not worth it. The people who are just looking to fool around. And I mean, moms are humans too, right? So if I want to fool around, sure. But if I'm looking for a relationship that's someone who's going to be introduced to my kid, it's different. It's very different. And I think it's allowed me to meet people who have a different sense of living and a different sense of life. I tend to date older people now, and I think I've always gotten along with older people more. My maturity level has always been a bit, but it's been actually really nice because I see the way that people interact with my kid as well and put in the effort and really, you know, try to kind of, they take up this new adventure as well in themselves. And parenting is an adventure, you know, and I'm not. But it's also been very eye-opening and, to say the least, at least, I mean, no complaints so far. But yes.
No, I like the way you look at things because the kind of something that would typically be seen as an obstacle, you're looking at it as an opportunity. So even like your taste in men, let's say it's grown and it's flourished into liking perhaps the more ideal man, the more patient man.
Exactly.
Here's a question. What happens if Arthur doesn't approve of someone you like?
I gotta go. It has been like a question in my mind as well of like, because right now he's young, so he views people as like, oh yay, new play buddy. But then when it comes to discipline and stuff,
course.
if Arthur doesn't get along with someone, I mean, Arthur's my priority,
Yeah.
for
Of
sure.
course.
Which is then where the sacrifice comes in. Like, I
Yeah.
can't just date whoever. Even if there's someone I might really get along with and I might really, really click with, if our values don't match up, if that person doesn't want kids, for example,
Yeah,
you
of
know, it's a
course.
deal breaker, or if Arthur doesn't get along with him, it's these things. But I think Arthur makes it easier because I know that I have this person with me there forever. You
Oh,
know,
cute.
he's my best friend and I don't need a man, you know. It's an added in life, I guess. But Arthur is a person who I can love unconditionally, and I think he's taught me unconditional love. I don't think I really knew what love was until I met Arthur. And then I could kind of, and it changed my perspective on relationships as well. So
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Oh, cute. I'm really enjoying this
amazing.
part, but I'm kind of curious about the pregnancy as well.
go ahead.
Shall we
About the
jump to
pregnancy phase.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, I've put that one to bed now.
Alright.
I'm over it. No, but obviously it's. I think people often discount the maybe emotional and mental side
Yes.
of
Yes.
pregnancy and post birth.
Yes,
What's
postpartum. Yeah.
that.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Almost.
I'm learning. Overall, in a nutshell, what were the struggles of pregnancy, and what was something that maybe was easier than you anticipated?
Okay, so I think because I was so young, my body adjusted well to it. Like even afterwards, my body recovered better. So it was actually, I mean, I don't recommend getting pregnant young, but at least there was that upside where my body bounced back very, very quickly. But I think the main thing with pregnancy for me, because again, it was during COVID, it was very weird. So it was this thing of, I felt like I wasn't walking in my own body. I don't even know how to describe it. Even when it came to the hospital, there were directives at the time, so no one could come in with me. It was very scary.
That must have been difficult.
Yes, and they told me that the minute Arthur comes out, they would have to do a swab test if I have COVID. And if I did, he would have to be taken away and kept in the hospital for 2 weeks where I couldn't see him.
Oh my God.
Because obviously newborns, if they get COVID, they didn't know at the time COVID was new. So it was like so I was petrified. I was not going out.
course.
I was very like, oh my God. And even in the actual hospital, I remember when I gave birth, right after they placed me in a room and it was with one other person and there was like just a curtain that separated us. And again, I never held a baby in my life. Like I've never had a baby cousin as well either. I think the baby cousins I had all lived abroad. So he was the first baby I held. So I did not know what I was doing, even breastfeeding. I was like panicking.
And you were alone at that point as well?
Yes, because inside then no one could actually come in when I was after he gave birth. After I gave birth. And then the lady who was next to me, at a point, she also had just had a baby, but something went wrong and she went into a seizure or something.
Oh,
And
shit.
all I can remember is like 10 doctors rushing in. And she's like, it was like a woman in her 30s, late 30s, crying for her mom and telling the doctors, tell my mom to take care of my baby. And she was like, it was panic mode. And I was there with Arthur. He was sleeping at the time. I remember just crying because it was like, what the fuck fuck is going on? Is that going to happen to me next? Like, what's happening? It was really
Because you're just there with your
surreal.
thoughts. Like, there's no one
Exactly,
else.
and I didn't know what was happening. Even the post-birth, I think people don't really speak about. I had an epidural, so I gave birth naturally, and I gave birth within 15 minutes, which was great.
wow.
As in the pushing,
Respect.
it was. That's what I'm saying, and my body actually really took it well. Like I think my water broke at midnight on one night, and I misunderstood the way that it was supposed to go. So I didn't know that the minute your water breaks, you're supposed to go to hospital. I thought the minute you start feeling contractions. So I was like, okay, cool. So I slept at 10 a.m., got my bag, went to the hospital. And then they're like, they looked at me and they're like, when did your water? Honestly, they're like, what time did your water break? I was like, at midnight last night. They're looking at me like, you're joking? Like, you were supposed to be here then 10 hours ago. And it was, yeah, they rushed me in. Then I spent so I think until the proper contraction started, took some time. But then actual pushing was 15 minutes. But obviously then the worse the contractions get, you can choose to get some help. So I got an epidural because they got very bad. Which
How
is
was
basically...
that, the epidural? Because
It's weird. They just like put like an injection in your
what
spine.
an epidural is.
No.
It's like an injection in your spine, and you just feel like this electric shock going up your
Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
heard it's really painful, Madonna.
The actual thing isn't painful. You just feel like this electric shock going up your body, and then you start going numb. So your
Okay.
entire body is
Okay.
numb. The
Okay.
minute you start
So
pushing,
it's
then
not as bad.
no,
as
not
people
at
may-
all.
Okay.
But when you push, they
That's
stop
good.
the
You're like
epidural.
comforting me.
It's really not as bad as people say it is. I mean, it obviously depends on your body. Some people have to get C-sections. I was lucky enough not to get a C-section, to be able to do it like naturally. But then the afterbirth is, I think, worse than the actual
Yeah.
thing. It was incredible because your spine ends up staying like crooked for a while until you can straighten your back again.
Oh, wow.
And obviously after the birth, you're bleeding a lot, so you put on like these like basically like adult nappies kind of until all the blood
Yeah.
stops. And you have a baby in your hands, so you can't just recover. You're completely. I was hunched down. I couldn't even shower myself. I remember people had to come in and help me shower. It was bad, and then it was kind of like. But then I think that lasted a few days, and then I was fine. And then my body started like easing up very quickly. But yeah, the initial. I mean, and then like you said, postpartum. There's postpartum depression. I mean, I think I had a bit of it. Not even postpartum. I had a bit of depression during pregnancy because I felt very alone.
I
felt
was
very
going
abandoned.
to ask you, like, how were you mentally and emotionally, especially since you were alone? You weren't going out because of COVID.
Yeah.
As we said, you were just alone with your thoughts. That must have been difficult.
It was a lot. It was a lot. I feel like I lost a lot of friends during my pregnancy, which now I look at for the better because I was a very big party girl before. So I think people used to enjoy my company because I was fun to be around. You know, I'd go get drunk, whatever. And now I was someone who I can't really go out with, so why would they even bother to meet me in a way? And it kind of made me realize who was really my friend and who wasn't. So if I had a
Eye-opening,
big
yeah.
group of friends, now I had like one. So it was very hard, especially for a 17-year-old. You know, I was
course.
enjoying
Yeah.
life. I had, you know, a great group of friends, I thought, and we were always partying and always going out and just always doing crazy things. And then all of a sudden, it's like no one even bothered to kind of check in and do whatever. So it was very hard mentally. I think that's where the kind of depressive state kicked in, where I was like, okay, I'm completely alone. I mean, at the time as well, like me and the father then stopped, and that was a whole other thing. So it became very real that I was going to be in this alone. And I think that's when I grew up, or I had to grow up. I even talk to my mom now because me and my mom now, after that specifically, we've become like best friends. I feel like now I
That's so
understand her
good.
more
That's so
because
good.
of the mother relationship. Yeah. And even she told me that I think from then, from the pregnancy till now, I shifted. Like I was no longer a 17-year-old girl. I became this human who just had to start to think much older than my actual age, which to a certain extent I wish I didn't have to do because obviously I did kind of lose a bit
Yeah.
of my youth. But at the same time, I'm glad because I wouldn't be where I am in my career or the people that I know now. My friendships now are people who genuinely care about me, and I know if I call them and something's wrong, they will come running in a second, and I would do the same for them. So I think that's even though the mental struggle was hard, it was for the best. And I really, really did need it. I needed a big wake-up call.
You should really pat yourself on the back. Like
Wahala.
you went through so much in such a short period of time, especially with COVID, sort of your
It
friendships,
was a
your
lot at
relationships.
once. I think it was just like a bandage rip, though. I think it's easier when it's just
Fair.
all at once than everything slowly. I feel like then you just feel like, oh my God, nothing's going right. But I am very proud of how I kind
should
of
be.
tackled things and how I came about. There are lots of things that if I could go back, I'd probably do different, but not even, because to
that
be
always
honest,
happens, regardless. You
Check.
could make the best decisions ever, and I feel like you'd still.
Exactly.
yeah. But
So-
no, I think everything happened for a reason. It's one of my biggest philosophies in life, and I mean, it's the same with like you're only as good as the 7 people you hang around with.
Yeah.
If I don't want my kid hanging around with 7 bums, why am I gonna go hang around with 7 bums?
Exactly.
You know? So
Exactly.
yeah,
I think a real beautiful thing is that you get to grow with Arthur, because
Yes.
obviously you're still young, and much like everyone else, like we've all got a lot to learn still. So that aspect of figuring shit out together
Yes.
is quite a beautiful thing. And I also
100%.
I think that because people often say that the hardest age to manage or parent is like 14, 15, especially in boys when puberty starts playing a
not
part.
looking forward to
Yeah,
that
I know.
part.
I know it made me
Also,
crazy.
I feel like at that age, given that you're younger, you can relate a bit
Exactly.
more. So
Yes,
I feel like
actually.
it might be easier, quote unquote.
Yes, because I think even now, I mean, I have more energy as well. I speak to certain moms, for example, that go, moms of his friends of school, you know, when we're waiting for the kids to come out and we have the small chit chat and whatever. I do realize that, like, even they say, like, the desire, it's great because you have more energy. Like, I wake up in the morning and I'm already tired and stuff.
Yes, right.
Which, you know, but I feel it as well. I mean, I get way more tired now than my friends. Like, if we
course.
go out and have a girls' night, for
course.
example, by like 10, I'm like, guys, I'm so tired. But, you know, it depends. But I think, like you said, I mean, I'm basically raising my best friend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and I get to live life with him, figure my stuff out with him. I really relive life through him as well, which is great. Like, we're walking through a garden, for example, and I walk through his garden every day, so I'm not paying attention. But he's like fascinated by everything. There's a bee. Look, the bee is taking, like, pulling out of the
Beautiful.
flower. What's going on? And he's like mesmerized. He's telling me, Mama, look. And I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, whoa. And I'm just sitting there with him, like,
So sweet.
you get to relive your childhood. You know, I get to go to places as well. Like last week or this week, I think I took him to Gravity. It's like this trampoline park in Malta.
I'm going this week.
And because he's so
fun.
young, honestly, you're gonna have the time of your
I
life.
will.
It's great, man. And since he's young, I have to go with him, right? Because they have to have a parent. And I went in, and it's just like, it's great. I'm jumping around, I'm flailing, I'm
Hella.
just like flinging right and left, and he's jumping
How
with me. We're
fun.
jumping on each other.
That's such a core memory.
It's exactly, honestly, and I feel like it's like what I used to have when I was a kid. There are those core memories, and I feel like I'm being able to give that to him
Yes,
and
definitely.
relive and become playful again, because obviously you have to become very responsible. So in my life, I wouldn't say I'm a serious person. I like to have fun, and I'm a very playful person. But there are moments, especially when I'm in work mode, I'm in work mode, you know? So through him, I get to just be a kid again
What
and just
fun.
like laugh and do stupid things and dance in the streets and nobody cares, and it's great.
What's he like? Aidan, like, what's his favorite color? What's his favorite
He's
cartoon?
cheeky. He's very, very cheeky. He just went through his like terrible twos, because in toddler stage you have the terrible twos and terrible
How were the
threes.
terrible twos?
Terrible. they were
Why-
temper tantrums.
Why are twos terrible?
Temper tantrums?
Yes,
Lots
yes.
of temper
A
tantrums,
lot of
lots
tease,
of
yeah.
no's. Yeah, it's a very,
Literally a
very.
lot.
He's starting to grasp life, which is beautiful, but then he's also grasping, I can say no to this person. Aha!
And they love saying
Oh
no.
my God, it's his favorite word.
Like I
But-
used to live with my niece and my nephew when
Yeah.
they were at that age, so I know
Oh,
exactly
no.
what you
know
mean.
exactly. No,
The
it's-
constant, like, no matter what you say, no, I don't want to. I hate you.
right? Literally, and it's crazy. But actually, now he's starting to ease out of it, and he's doing really well. He really enjoys school. He's really musically inclined, which I love. He has these little dances where he has this like
Yes.
hip
Oh,
shake,
sweet.
Yes.
and it's great. It's absolutely great. I mean, we've had moments, obviously, where I've had very scary moments with him, where it's like, oh my God, but. I live and I learn and I grow, and I don't know how to be a mom. I still don't know. I'm winging it. I'm honestly
No one does. I
winging
feel
it.
like
no,
no
Hey.
matter
There's
what
no-
age you have kids.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
just
you can
going
read
through
every
it,
parent book out there.
literally.
Every kid is different. Like, even I ask for advice sometimes from other kids. Even my mom, when she tries to give me advice, then she looks at me, she's like, "But this doesn't work for Arthur. Like, it used to work for you, but it doesn't work for Arthur." You know, like, he was a picky eater as well, so I had to kind of be more attentive to that. So there's a lot of things, but I think you just learn as you go, which is also fun. You just take it day by day. But no, he's an incredible kid. He's super sociable. Like, he sees strangers in the street, starts saying hello, goes up to them and hugs them, and just
How
like
cute.
he's a great kid. No, I'm very, very happy.
That's so sweet.
Cute.
And what's something you wish you wish you knew before having Arthur that maybe you weren't
That
told?
maybe it's not as scary as it seems. I know that having a kid young is very scary, and it was for the first few years. I was kind of like, oh my God, you know. But I think as long as you look at things from a brighter light and you just remember that you're still a human being, you know, I'm still Jeanine, I'm still me, I'm not just a mother, and that is honestly the best thing you can do for a kid. You make sure that you're fulfilling your life and include him in it. Don't fulfill your life and exclude him, because that will it would be even
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
But like, really give him a life that he can look back at when he's in his 20s and say, I had an amazing childhood. I had like the sickest
Yeah.
childhood ever. I met these people and I did this and I did that. You know, he's met so many great musicians already, and he's met so many incredible people, and he's done so many incredible things. So I want him to be able to have a childhood that's different, you know, and a childhood that's really just letting him be free and wild. I think when it comes to motherhood, there's a lot of external pressure, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I have friends who've literally told me that they take kids to festivals, like family friendly festivals, and they get looks or comments from other
Yes,
people like, why
yeah.
the hell did you bring your kid to this? It's like, live and let live, man. I mean, at the end of the day, these are the kids that are going to be grounded and content human beings and
Exactly.
grown-ups who are going to be
Exactly.
our future generation.
And you know your kid best, sort of, you know.
Exactly.
Where
If my
he
kid
should
wasn't
go and
comfortable
what-
going there, I wouldn't bring
Exactly,
him, you know?
exactly.
So I think it's just taking it day by day and really just enjoying being able to grow up with a mini you, which honestly is just somebody who's going to be there with you for the
Yeah.
rest of your life, which is great.
And I think the more you like let him step on a splinter or fall off a short ledge, a very
Yeah.
short one, then he's gonna learn his limits himself, because if you over shelter him,
For
I mean
sure.
that why do so many of us have anxiety nowadays?
Yep.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Because we've been so
literally.
sheltered our whole
Exactly.
lives.
It's the same with kids. They get allergic to pollen or dust because they're not exposed to it at a young age. Take them out, let them roll around in mud.
Let
I
them
mean,
get
Same
sick.
thing when
yes,
kids are.
Builds their immunity,
yes,
no?
honestly, yeah. And apparently, the more a kid gets sick in their younger years, the better their immunity will be when they're older.
Because you're literally building your immune system, eh?
Exactly. No, for sure. So I think it's just letting them be kids, man.
Yes,
I mean,
literally let kids be kids.
Yes.
It bugs me
They
so
roll
much
around in
seeing
mud, so what?
kids
You
that
can
are
wash them off at
limited.
home.
Exact.
I mean, I went to the skate park, like, again, a few days ago, and he was there playing with other kids, and you know, the ramps and stuff. He was like going down using the slides, and then they were teaching him, like, the guys of the skate park were teaching him how to skateboard. And it's-
Lalo.
you
But
know,
how fun it was.
yeah, he was black by the end of it. Like, head to toe, he was covered in dust and dirt and whatever. It took me like 3 washes to get everything out. But like, so what? You know, he had the time of his life. He was happily eating pizza at the back of the car going home. He's like, yes, this was a good day. You
How
know, so
fun.
I think
So
it's just
sweet.
letting kids have fun and explore and really get their hands dirty is what makes them, you know, I
Yeah,
don't
they're
know,
kids.
be happy. Yeah.
And just to backtrack a bit, I also wanted to ask, how has it been, even financially, sort of?
Yeah.
You're still 22,
Yes,
21? How old are
22.
you? 22. So how has it been balancing everything?
It's been hard. I mean, obviously now you don't have just yourself to feed, you have another kids to feed. I remember when I was pregnant, I kind of said, okay, I need to kind of now make sure I have a proper job
Yeah.
and I need to be able to make a stable income. The government actually does really help with that. So
Okay.
obviously, since I'm a single mother, I get a single mother allowance, which is great. So every month they help you out a bit. It's obviously not enough to live on. So then it will kind of be you go and you still make some money. But for example, then when I started working, I started leaning off the social security because I actually had money coming in, so I wouldn't need it anymore because I'm a type of person, I don't want to rely on the government for money
Yes,
the rest of my life. So it did become, I think one thing actually about jobs with kids especially is, or something I've learned, is not to mention you're a mom immediately, because it becomes a bit of a weird thing where they usually think that you're going to be very off hands,
Yeah.
when in reality it's the opposite.
Literally.
But I don't usually mention my kids sometimes until I get the job for me, and then because of my skills and I know how to do this.
Yeah.
And then later on, like, tell them I have a kid, obviously. And then you kind of see, like, you have a kid? What? I wouldn't have taken you to have a kid. Like, you work hard. You think, I'm like, yeah, you didn't think moms would work hard? It's like, yeah, you don't leave early. Yeah, because I'm not going to leave early just because I have a kid, you know? I'm going to make sure that if I need to leave early,
Exactly.
I will. But
But you
I'm
make
here
it
to do
work.
my job. Exactly. But then as I started more and more realizing that working for other people is harder, especially because I am a mom, I started leaning more towards freelance. So now it's easier.
Nice.
I make my own schedule. I surround it around him. Whenever I can take him
That's
on the
really
job, I take
good.
him on the job. Yeah. And I basically, like, I can pre-plan how much money I will make and then take time off to just spend time with him, which is good.
Nice.
So it has come with a bit of a perk. It's had its moments as well.
Of course,
but
just like anything else,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Pros and cons.
Exactly. But no, I mean, I think motherhood makes you just work very hard. The harder you work, the more your kid will be happy and the more you will be happy. So you just do it.
Because I've spoken to a lot of people, obviously asking them if they'd want kids in the future, and they'd often say how, like, the finances are something that puts them off.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for them over there?
I think, again, make sure you work in a job that you're passionate about, because then the money will come. If you do need the help, the government does actually help, especially if you're a single mother. Or even now, I think every parent in Malta, there's child allowance. So every 3 months you get, certain, again, it's very little, but it
But
does
it's
kind
something.
of help. Yeah, yeah. And there are a lot of, for example, Arthur, I have a lot of moms who pass down a lot of clothes because kids grow out of their clothes.
Of
like that.
course.
So it's not even worth it buying all of that. So where you can save, you save. You know, kids at the end of the day, they don't need like 1,000 toys.
Yeah.
They're the simpler and the more value you give to their time rather than the materialistic things, the better. But I think being able to balance out a job where you're happy and that they respect the fact that you do have a family at home, which I think a lot of places do nowadays, then you're good and you're fine. And I think money shouldn't be a deciding, it should be a big factor because you do need a lot of finances. Kids are very expensive. But I mean, I think it's just making sure that you are happy first and foremost. And if you want to start a family with your partner or whatever, go ahead and do it. And the rest will kind of follow. Savings are always great. That's why always save. But I mean, with Arthur, I've always managed, even if I'm scraping by at certain points, at other times. I mean, it's the same with jobs. Like, I make sure if I'm taking up acting jobs and they are a few days where I'm away from Arthur, if I decide to take them up, I'm going to make sure that I'm making good money from them that I can take home.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not just going to take something up and then leave with nothing. So I think, and it's motivated me even more. And I think I've managed to become more financially intelligent.
course.
So I have managed to make more money for myself after Arthur than I ever had before. So I think it's actually benefited me in a way. So I kind of like, I became money minded. We're like, okay, I need to take up certain jobs to make sure we're stable and we have food on the table, roof over our head, and we're
It
good.
just keeps making you better and better, this
Yeah.
boy, yeah?
Arthur for the win.
You're very
love
lucky to
Arthur.
have him, and I think he's very lucky
He's
to have
very,
you as
very,
well.
very lucky
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Amazing. Thank you guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, it's been a nice little talk about motherhood. I love it.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Amazing.
guys. Cheers.
Yay!